everyone. So today we are going to talk about adjectives. And to help us learn about adjectives, we're going to read a book called The Smartest Giant in Town. So you may be wondering, what is an adjective? Does anyone know? So an adjective is a word that describes or tells us about something. So if I have my water bottle here, how would you describe my water bottle? How would you say it looks? If you said shiny, that's great. My water bottle's very shiny. It's blue. It's pretty hard. It's made of metal. So we could say, I have a blue, shiny, metal water bottle. So all of those words before are adjectives. They tell us a little bit more about this water bottle. Let's see, what about, since we're all wearing face masks, we can describe my face mask. How would you describe my face mask? Let's see, you could say it's striped, it's pretty soft, it's blue and white and gray, and it's pretty long. So I could say my long striped blue and white face mask. All of those words, long, striped, blue, and white, are adjectives that are describing face mask. So let's see. What if I say my stretchy hairband? My stretchy hairband. What adjective am I using to describe hairband? Stretchy. Very good. What if I say my long, thin pen? What adjectives am I using to describe pen? Very good. Long and thin. Super. So we are going to read Our Smartest Giant in Town, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what adjectives there are in our story. So The Smartest Giant in Town, written by Julia Donaldson and illustrated by Axel Scheffler. So illustrated, remember, means who drew the pictures. So George was a giant, the scruffiest giant in town. So what kind of giant was he? The scruffiest. So remember, scruffiest is the adjective for our noun giant. He always wore the same pair of old brown sandals and a small old patched up gown. I wish I wasn't the scruffiest giant in town, he said sadly. But one day, George noticed a new shop. What kind of shop was it? New. Very good. So new is the adjective for shop. It was full of smart clothes. So he bought a smart shirt, a smart pair of trousers, a smart belt, a smart stripy tie, some smart socks, and a pair of smart shiny shoes. So what kind of adjectives are describing all of these clothes? What adjective describes all of these? Smart. Very good. Now I'm the smartest giant in town, he said. George left his old clothes behind in the shop. He was about to go home when he heard a sound. On the pavement stood a giant who was sniffling sadly. What's the matter? Said George. It's my neck, said the giant. It's so very, very long and so very cold. I wish I had a long, warm scarf. So what kind of scarf does our giant want? Very good. A long, warm scarf. So long and warm are our adjectives. Cheer up, said George, and he took off his stripy tie. It didn't match my socks anyways, he said, as he wound it round and round the giant's neck. It made a wonderful scarf. Thank you, said the giraffe. As George strode towards home, he sang to himself, my tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. But look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town. George came to a river. On a boat stood a goat who bleating loudly. "What's the matter?" said George. "It's my sail," said the goat. "It blew away in a storm." "I wish I had a strong new sail for my boat." So what kind of sail does the goat want? Super! He wants a strong new sail. So strong and new are adjectives describing sail. "Cheer up," said George, and he took off his new white shirt. "It kept coming untucked anyways," he said, as he tied it to the mast. So here's the mast of the goat's boat. It made a magnificent sail. "Thank you," said the goat. George strode off, singing to himself. "My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. My shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. But look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town." George came to a tiny ruined house. So what adjectives are describing the house? Super! Tiny and ruined. Beside the house stood a white mouse with lots of baby mice. They were all squeaking, squeak, squeak. "What's the matter?" asked George. "It's our house," squeaked Mother Mouse. "It burned down and now we have nowhere to live. I wish we had a nice new house." So what kind of house does Mother Mouse want? What adjectives did she use? Great, she used nice and new. "Cheer up," said George, and he took off one of his shiny shoes. "It was giving me blisters anyways," he said. As the mouse and her baby scrambled inside, the shoe made a perfect home for them. "Thank you," they squeaked. George had to hop along the road now, but he didn't mind. As he hopped, he sang to himself, "My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. My shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. My shoe is a house for a little white mouse. But look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town." George came to a campsite. Beside a tent stood a fox who was crying. "What's the matter?" asked George. "It's my sleeping bag," said the fox. "I dropped it in a puddle. I wish I had a warm, dry sleeping bag." What kind of sleeping bag does the fox want? What adjectives does he use? Super! He uses warm and dry. Very good work. So cheer up, said George, and he took off one of his socks with diamonds up the sides. "It was tickling my toes anyways," he said. As the fox snuggled into it, it made a very fine sleeping bag. "Thank you," said the fox. George hopped on singing to himself. "My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. My shirt's on a boat as a tail for a goat. My shoe is a house for a little white mouse. One of my socks is a bed for a fox. But look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town." George came to a big squelchy bog. Beside the bog stood a dog who was howling. "What's the matter?" asked George. "It's this bog," said the dog. "I need to get across, but I keep getting stuck. I wish there was a safe, dry patch." So what does he want? What kind of patch does he want? Very good, a safe and dry one. Super. "Cheer up," said George, and he took off his smart new belt. "It was squishing my tummy anyways," he said. As he laid it down over the bog, it made an excellent patch. "Thank you," said the dog. The wind started to blow, but George didn't mind. He hopped on singing to himself. "My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. My shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. My shoe is a house for a little white mouse. One of my socks is a bed for a fox. My belt helped a dog who was crossing a bog. But my trousers are falling down. I'm the coldest giant in town. So what kind of giant is he now? Coldest. Very good. Coldest is the adjective. Suddenly George felt sad and shivery and not at all smart. He stood on one foot and thought, I'll have to go back to the shop and buy some more clothes, he decided. He turned round and hopped all the way back to the shop. But when he got there, it was closed. Oh no, cried George. He sank down onto the doorstep, and a tear ran down his nose. He felt as sad as all the animals he had met on his way home. Then out of the corner of his eye, he saw a bag with something familiar poking out of the top. George took a closer look. My gown, he yelled. My dear old gown and sandals. George put them on. He felt wonderfully comfortable. I'm the coziest giant in town, he said, and he danced back home along the road. So what type of giant is he now? Coziest. Very good. Outside my front door stood all the animals he had helped. They were carrying an enormous present. So what kind of present? Super. Enormous is the adjective. Come on, George, they said. Open it. George untied the ribbon. Inside was a beautiful gold paper crown. So how would you describe the crown? Beautiful, gold, and paper. Those are all adjectives. Super. Look inside the card, George, said the animals. George put the crown on his head and opened the card. Your tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. Your shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. Your tie is a house for a little... Your shoe is a mouse for a little white mouse. One of your socks is a bed for a fox. Your belt helped a dog who was crossing a bog. So here's a fine crown to go with the sandals and gown of the kindest giant in town. So what adjective do they use to describe the giant? Kindest. Super. I hope that you had fun reading the story and you learned something about adjectives. Have a good day.